You are listening to the Tudor History and Travel Show, Travel Essentials, the place to be for all the best top tips and inspiration for planning your Tudor adventures. So, let's get ready to hit the road with Sarah Morris, the Tudor Travel Guide.
Hello my time travelling friends, yes it is indeed Sarah the Tudor Travel Guide here, and welcome back to this month's episode of the Tudor History and Travel Show Travel Essentials, the show which helps you get on the road and make the most of your trips and visits here in the UK to see some of your favourite Tudor places. Okay, so just to remind you, of course, this is going out as a podcast, but as ever, I am recording this show and this is also posted on my YouTube channel. If you are interested in seeing the recording of this show, then just head over to YouTube and type in The Tudor Travel Show so that you can join me there. And of course, do make sure that you hit that subscribe and the little bell button so you know when all my latest videos are going live. Okay, well, back to today's show. Well, here we are in April and spring is definitely springing here in the UK. Still a bit chilly at the moment, but we've had a glimpse of what's to come. And I am also delighted to be able to give you a little bit of a COVID update because I know many of you, particularly those of you overseas, not really to mention those of us here in the UK, are dying to get back on the road. And COVID, of course, has been keeping us pinned inside. Well, here in the UK, nearly half the adult population has now been vaccinated. And the government is telling us that it is on track to vaccinate all adults, folk over 18 in the UK by the end of July, which is great news. And we are actually seeing positive effects of the vaccination programme. So infection rates, the death rates and hospitalisation rates are certainly falling. And despite the fact that our restrictions are being lifted, schools are back, people are getting out, the infection rates are staying low. So this is great news, folks. And it definitely gives us hope that now that the heritage and culture sector is reopening here in the UK. In fact, I think next week, the 12th of April, is when doors are going to be beginning to open all across the country. We can start to look forward to getting out on the road again. So that is such great news. Now, for those of you who are overseas, we are still not quite clear about where the government here in the UK is going regarding its attitude to people flying back into the UK. We are due to get some announcements shortly, and there will be apparently a traffic light system. So certain countries will be graded red, amber, green, depending upon, I think, two factors. First of all, the current levels of vaccination rate in the country affected and or in question, and secondly, whether there are any dangerous new strains that have occurred. So we're waiting for the details of that, and of course, in next month's show, I'll bring you up to date, but it's a bit of a movable feast, isn't it? Things are changing all the time, but anyway, we hope that we'll all be out there again shortly. Okay, so in a moment, I am going to be welcoming back my usual travel buddy to the show. That's Philippa Brewell from British History Tours, and we're going to be tackling the question of the month, your travel question of the month. And then, as you are aware, if you've been tuning into this show so far, normally I have a guest and then go on to talk about up-and-coming events that you can tune into. Well, in this month's show, I'm going to roll those together, and I have a very special guest coming along, and that's Brigitte Webster from TudorExperience.com, and I'm going to be talking to Brigitte about a very special event that I'm holding in conjunction with her later on in the year. So stay tuned for all the information regarding that. So with that, let's get on with the show, and it's time for me to welcome Philippa back to Travel Essentials. Hello, Philippa, welcome back.
Hello everyone. Hi Sarah. Thank you for having me back again.
Oh, it's good, isn't it? I do look forward to this. It's wonderful. How are you doing this week? What's going on for you?
Really good, thank you. Yeah, quite busy. Doing some British history videos for YouTube, and also looking now towards planning for the tours for 2022 with British History Tours. So very excited about that. Yes. It's nice to be thinking about getting out and about again, and inviting people, welcoming people back to this country, which is of course what we love doing. So yes, getting cautiously excited now.
I'm so with you. In the intro, I was just telling people about where we are with COVID and vaccinations, and that things are opening up. So yes, I share your excitement, particularly as we're going to be hitting the road together next year as well. And I can't wait to be talking more with people and with you about that, with everybody. So that'll be good, won't it?
But yes, we've got some fab stuff planned, and hopefully as well we'll be able to get together at some places in the summer as well, aren't we? We're sort of planning to see if we can go exploring.
We've got a whole smorgasbord of stuff coming up, and actually on that note, we'll come back to that at the end of our chat. But why don't we just dive into tackling today's questions? So what are we looking at today, Philippa?
So we're looking at what to pack if you're coming to the UK. And the reason we thought this would be a good topic is because we have the most varied weather, the most varied walking surfaces. I was thinking about this the other day. If you're coming to go to heritage sites, you are going to be on pavement. Sometimes you're going to be on the grass in mud at other times. So I thought, let's just have a look. What are the things that we would say make sure you bring with you and have on you while you're traveling around our heritage sites, from personal experience as to what you need, what I wish I had with me sometimes if I've forgotten it. So we're going to do that. Good. And in a week where it has demonstrated it perfectly, because I was sat reading in the garden a few days ago, and then a few days after that we had snow. So
incredible, wasn't it? I was also just mentioning how we've had a peak at summertime, but then it was just ripped away from us, and there were blizzards outside of my window. So yeah, if you'd come dressed for summer, you really would have felt it.
Yeah. Oh yes. I mean, I was feeling the sun on Saturday. You had to cover your shoulders or put suntan lotion on. And then 2 days later or something, we were very much back inside.
So this question of what to pack, obviously, therefore, is very much dependent on what time of year you come. However, there are some safer periods of time, I guess, where you can be reasonably certain it's going to be warmer and you're not going to get snow. But there are these transition periods in our weather where it really is. You could be in really feeling like it's summer conditions, or it could be feeling like winter, and you really don't know what you're going to get. So how are you going to tackle that? What are you going to suggest? And I'll dive in along the way and maybe lob in a few thoughts.
Okay, well, just to follow up on that then, it's a very good point. March and April, I would say, you can get anything from full-on summer temperatures to snow. But snow is it's unlikely. This week has been a little bit freakish. It's unusual. So, but as you move into sort of end of April, May onwards, you can be fairly sure that we're going to be either mild temperatures or warm. When we say it's gone cold, we're talking about it being in the low, 0 to low Celsius, which I think is low 70s or high 60s in Fahrenheit, which to some people isn't that cold. So we are quite, we like our warm weather here, I think. But when you go into summer, it's more the wet. We're known for the rain. Last summer was absolutely fabulous. It's such a shame that it wasn't a traveling year, because we had the most amazing summer. So don't be thinking as well that England's grey and dull and you're not going to get sunburnt, because you very, very much can get sunburnt in one day in England. So one of the things that I always carry around with me as a woman, and so the men need some sort of but I would suggest they would need something as well, is I carry around with me like a pashmina or cotton shawl, which can either cover your shoulders, if you do get caught in the sun. For instance, if you go to the Tower of London, I've always managed to get burnt at the Tower of London, because a lot of it is actually outside, and you stood there looking at everything, and you can find yourself caught out. So, but also equally, it doubles up as a scarf if things get a bit cooler. So that's one thing I would definitely say. I use that. I don't go anywhere without a pashmina or cotton shawl. So for men, I would say hat or something similar to keep yourself covered if you do find yourself caught out in the sun.
Yes, I often that transition period, if I go for the t-shirt, I'll just, a bit like you, just a really light top that
Yes.
can be easily folded up and put into a bag, because just having that extra layer can make all the difference during those sort of transition periods in our weather, where it can be, quite warm 1 minute, or then it starts to get towards the end of the day, or the weather can change, and it's nice to have that extra layer.
Yeah, so obviously it could be quite breezy, and that can change the temperature quite quickly. So it's really useful to have with you. If you're near the coast, obviously as well, you're more likely to have, the wind dies down, it's boiling, the wind whips up, you're freezing. So
quite.
It's a good thing to have with you. So that's one thing. And you mentioned there a bag, and I was just going to say, just a backpack, but just be careful. Some places you just have to do that thing where you wear your backpack on the front, like the Tower of London and places like that won't let you have your backpack on your back. So what I do as well, backpacks are great obviously for keeping in your top for if it goes cool, or your suntan lotion or whatever else, your water, but I also have a little sort of pouch bag that I have, so that everything I need quickly I can get at, because you're going to be tickets or phone or whatever that you're going to need to bring out at periods. So and of course you're going to be taking photographs wherever you go, I presume. So have something like a small bag for quick access items.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I'm not taking us off topic, but I might be moving slightly. You talked about wet weather, and I think that's the thing you do really have to be prepared for here, isn't it? It's the whole wet weather scenario. So I don't know I'll share with you what I take around that at the moment. But what about what's your top tips for that?
So my top tips are an umbrella, obviously, because again, that will help if you get caught out in the sun or the rain, obviously. But the biggest one for me, I think, is the shoes, because whatever you're doing, you're going to be walking a lot, and I when I'm out and about, I've got a pair of nice Gore-Tex, basically waterproof trainers, so they're comfortable. And if I get caught out in the rain, I'm not going to get soggy feet or ruin a nice pair of leather shoes. So they would be what I would recommend for wet weather.
Because you're quite right. A lot of the particularly English heritage sites, maybe you are outdoors. These are ruins, and you're going to be encountering a lot of grass, maybe some grass paths. They can get quite muddy, so you definitely need not only comfy footwear, but I think relatively waterproof, and of course climbing up and down into, I'm thinking of certain ruined castles, where they've built the staircases so you can get in and out, but we're talking uneven, slippery surfaces as well, so you might want to bear that in mind with your footwear. And I think, I've said this before and everybody always laughs at me, but I say it anyway. I never go anywhere without my waterproof trousers unless it's guaranteed that the sun is going to shine all day. I will, because one thing, they're quite easy to pack because you can roll them up quite tight, so they're quite easy to shove into a bag. And if it does rain, I hate getting wet jeans. That's just the worst thing for me. So and also they're actually quite good for being windproof. So if it is cold and you are near the coast, for example, they're not only good for protecting you against the rain, but also wind as well. So that I take my waterproof trousers with me everywhere I go.
Certainly for winter, I agree. The windproof, I go down to Portsmouth every winter to see the Mary Rose and take a trip out to Southsea, and you got buffeted. You're on the coast. It's December, and so I can see the wish for windproof and waterproof trousers. Yeah, definitely.
Anything else, or have we covered? Because I know there's only a limited amount really that we can talk about here. Is there anything else about the seasons that we should be saying? I'm just thinking.
Well, I just would say make sure you do put a little pot of suntan lotion or a sun stick or something in, because our days can be quite changeable. They can start warm and get cold, or they can start cold and get warm. It's lovely when we get a period of stable weather, but it's not guaranteed, I think, because of our position near the Atlantic, etc. So yeah, just that, and then like you say, like you waterproof layers or a top or a shawl, something where you can layer up, because again the temperature can change quite drastically in the day. So
yeah.
And then the only last thing I was thinking, actually, so two, but more technical kind of stuff, is power pack. So if you're using, you don't want, especially now where probably tickets are electronic and etc., you don't want your phone to run out of battery. So power pack I take everywhere with me, and I think they're fairly inexpensive now. And the other thing, of course, if you're coming from abroad, is plug adapters. And just remember, if you're going into Europe as well, we use different ones, so you're going to need a different one for the UK to mainland Europe. But they were the two things. They're the things that you'd kick yourself if you've got to repurchase them and you've already got them, in a bag in the loft.
Really good points. Yes, that power pack thing. I've only recently come across power packs, but they save your life when you're out, particularly if you're a prodigious photo taker. And let's face it, most of us will be when we're seeing our favourite cultural places. So absolutely. And I was just thinking about winter, actually. I know we've talked about winter before here. I always think of winter sets in October when the clocks go back. So in towards the end of October, our clocks go back an hour. The days get a lot shorter. It obviously starts to get a lot colder. I would say that our coldest months are January and February these days. I think as a youngster, I used to remember November and December being just as cold, but quite often it's those early months in the just sort of January and February where you really feel it. But I would say, people think that there's going to be a lot of snow here in winter. It just doesn't happen so much. I think in generations gone by, my parents tell tales of 6 foot deep snow, that they had to shovel their way out of the house to, get a path. But we rarely get that amount of snow. I mean, we obviously sometimes it happens, but it's quite rare, isn't it? You're more likely to just get cold, grey, and more drizzly rain than a lot of snow.
Yeah, I think that's it must be perpetuated by the Christmas card scenes of cottages in snow, and I think even I remember my dad telling me about snowdrifts, huge snowdrifts, but even then it wasn't every year. I mean, we go for years without getting any snow at all, don't we? But yeah, I think if you're right, it's January, February time if we're going to get any that we would. I actually quite like traveling in the winter because it's less changeable. You just know it's going to be cold.
Yes.
So you get dressed once and that's all you need. There's no changing layers around. I actually quite like it. And on our still days, it's not always windy and drizzly or anything like that. And on a cool, crisp winter day, it's sort of, for me, it's like perfect conditions, especially if you're going to a heritage site as well, because it's likely to be quieter. So you maybe have the place to yourself. And if you're, again, like us with the avid photograph taking, it's fab because you get some fabulous photographs against nice blue skies with nobody in them, which is great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I certainly wouldn't be put off by traveling here in the winter at all. I think it's quite pleasant.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's nothing like a crisp winter day. And actually, if you would encounter an English person at this time of year, one of the big laments, the conversation you can strike up is you don't know what to wear, do you? That's such a, that is a sort of the conversation. So if you meet an English person and you want to strike up and be sociable at this time of year when the seasons are changing and one minute you're getting rain and the next minute you're getting hot sun, that's the thing that you can kick off. What don't you think, Philippa? That's a winner.
That's so funny. That is absolutely, that is so funny. Yes, because that's true.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for that. So, yeah, that's our top tips for packing. And as Philippa says, we're so looking forward to everybody being able to make it back to the UK. But unusually, this isn't the end of our chat today, because we wanted to use this chance of Philippa and I being together to talk to you about one of our latest ventures. Now, no doubt some of you will have seen us talking about this on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, etc. But since we were together, Philippa, we thought it would be good actually to bring it to life a little bit more in conversation. So we have recently started a couple of clubs on Clubhouse. Now, if you haven't heard about Clubhouse yet, it is a new social media platform, but the difference with all the other social media platforms you will know about so far is it's 100% audio and it's live. So essentially, once you're on the platform, you can find topics that interest you, and people are creating rooms where they're talking about, oh my goodness, all sorts of different things. And unsurprisingly, Philippa, myself, and Kat from Reading the Past and Catherine Brooks from the Tudor Tracker have got together to create 2 new history-based clubs on Clubhouse. So do you want to tell us about them, Philippa?
Yeah. So we've got the History and Culture Club, where we cover all sorts of anything that really comes under history and culture, and we're hoping that grows as well, so that we can encompass other cultures and history from other countries as well. We're really keen to do that. And then we have the Tudor History Club, which is I think all of our first loves, where we get to chat about figures and events and anything we can think of actually to do with Tudor history. We love doing that.
Yeah, and so we've got rooms running throughout the week. So the way Clubhouse works is that you schedule rooms, and we have several regular rooms scheduled throughout the week. So we have rooms on a Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. We have a morning room on a Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. And we have your History After Dark at 8:15 in the evening GMT. So that's a completely different time of day. We've also got rooms scheduled on a Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. And then a week on Saturday, so I think that's the 17th of April, you and I, Philippa, along with Deb Royal from the Tudor Times, are going to be starting a new room, which is all about visiting Tudor places. So very relevant to what we're talking about here. And that's going to be called Visiting Tudor Britain. And we're basically, in the other rooms, we talk a lot about people and events, as you were saying, Philippa. In this room, we're going to be really putting the spotlight on some of our favourite places that are just dripping in Tudor history. So there's a lot for you guys to get your teeth into. And I suppose the only thing I would say, just picking up on your point, Philippa, is, you know, if you have a particular love of history and you are based elsewhere in the world and you'd love to bring your history of your country, your region to life, then we'd be very happy to hear from you, because once you're a member of the club, you can start up your own history room within the umbrella of the club. And by contacting us, we can make sure that that is open to everybody. So we've been making hopefully invites available to folk, haven't we, Philippa? What have you been up to on that front?
Yes, so with the clubs now, we can send out invites to anyone to come and join the club, even if they are not currently on Clubhouse, and that is the way you can get on. So I've just been asking people to either email me or direct message me on Instagram, and I send them back an invite, which happened last night in last night's room. 10 minutes before, a lady asked for an invite and she was able to join the room. So it's working quite well.
That's brilliant. Yes. So ditto. So what's, just for those people who might want to know, what's your email address? How can they contact you?
Yeah, so you can contact me, Philippa at BritishHistoryTours.com, or you can direct message me on Instagram. I'm at British_history_tours.
And For myself, you can contact me at sarah@thetudortravelguide.com, or you can find me The Tudor Travel Guide on Instagram. And again, just as Philippa said, you can direct message me, and we have some spare invites. So if you're on iPhone, and it is iPhone only, but that will be changing very soon. Hopefully in May, it will be opening to Android users. And so we really will be able to open our arms and welcome everybody in. But as I say, at the moment, you have to be on iPhone and you do need an invite. But if you're interested in joining us, and it's so, I don't know about you, Philippa, but I am loving Clubhouse, because unlike the other social media platforms, we get to chat live and people can come up and talk to us and ask questions and put their point of view. And it's so interactive. I'm learning loads, but it's such fun.
That's what I was about to say. It is interactive. So, and it's because it's in real time as well. It's not like people leave a comment and then you comment back a day later or whatever. You know, it's there and then we're having a chat. And don't feel pressured as well. If you want to come in and just listen, that's also absolutely fine. There's no pressure at all to have to speak. I know that gets some people nervous, but at the same time, if you had a burning question or a burning comment that you wanted to make on the topic that we've got, then you're welcome to join in the conversation as well. So I find it a very friendly platform, very well behaved and well mannered, and just really, interactive and interesting. It is fabulous. I'm enjoying it very much.
And, there are followers, people been following, and you'll be the same, Philippa, people who've been following the Tudor Travel Guide for ages, and now I get to speak to them live because they're on the platform, which is lovely. And so just to say to you folks listening that, we sometimes it's just the four of us holding a room, or two of us or three of us, but we also getting guests in. So last night, Philippa was interviewing Gareth Russell about the Titanic, and we will be having other historians joining us as guests. And then, as we all get out and about on the road, we are going to do some live rooms from on location. So literally towards the end of the month, I will be standing somewhere next to something that's got to do with Tudor history, and I will be describing it to you, and you'll be able to ask questions about it, and you'll be able to say, what does this look like? What was that? And hopefully you'll get a real sense of history coming into your front room, wherever you are in the world. So I know we're looking forward to that, aren't we?
Yes, very much so. I'm practicing my description skills so that I can paint pictures with words.
Yes, that's definitely going to be honing our skills. So anyway, guys, I really hope you can join us. As I said, you just need to contact us via our email addresses or DM on Instagram, and an invite will hopefully be winging its way to you. Well, with that, Philippa, that's all for our chat today, and we'll be returning, of course, next month. I was going to say next week, but no, next month. So I'm going to look forward to that. Thanks so much for coming along today and sharing your thoughts, top tips with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody.
Well, that's a big thank you to Philippa for joining us again this month. And so now I want to go straight over to my next guest, who is an old friend of the Tudor Travel Guide. Many of you will know her because she does a regular monthly contribution to the blog, a food blog all about Tudor food, so a chance to taste Tudor history. And that is, of course, Brigitte Webster from TudorExperience.com. So let's bring in Brigitte straight away and dive into the next part of our conversation. Hello, Brigitte. Welcome to Travel Essentials.
Hello. Very excited to be here.
It's so good to see you. It's been so long. So for those listeners, Brigitte and I have known each other a few years now, and we've met at different Tudor places, but of course with COVID we've all been locked down and we haven't seen each other for well over a year, so it's lovely to have you here.
Well, as you can see, I am Brigitte, and I am in a very fortunate position that I actually live in a true Tudor manor house.
Yes.
Which was built by Yorkists, which is just unreal. It's probably one of the finest small Tudor manor houses in the country, because it still has a few authentic special Tudor features. Not very well known because it's been in private hands for so long. But I have decided it needs to be seen, it needs to be appreciated by the public. So I'm going to open my home up to Tudor.
So of course, this part of the show, normally I'm inviting a guest along to recommend to us an amazing historic place to stay. And then I was thinking, Brigitte, of course, Brigitte's got her own amazing historic place to stay. So that's one of the reasons I really wanted to bring you on today. And we're going to dive into that at the moment. You can tell us a little bit about the history of the Old Hall and what you're doing there. But then just to say for the listeners, stay tuned, folks, because Brigitte and I are running a special collaborative event in August this year. And we want to tell you and talk to you all about that. But let's come back to that in a moment. So you do indeed have this amazing property, which I cannot wait to see. So it's the Old Hall. Can you tell us where you are in the country and then maybe give us a little snippet of its history?
Yeah, of course. Well, we are in Tudor County, Norfolk. And we are based in a tiny village just outside Norwich, about 10 minutes drive southeast. And the house was built by a Sir Edward Chamberlain in about 1514. So Henry VIII would have been in his prime.
Yeah, young and lusty king.
And in typical Tudor fashion, things were added or replaced, but the majority of the house is still Tudor in its fabric. We do have a few repair works that are quite obvious once you know where they are. For instance, our south wall collapsed in 1818 and had to be replaced. So there's lots and lots of stories I am at the moment discovering myself. But we have original fireplaces that we use. Indeed, we have to use because there is no central heating in the house.
Wow, you've got the authentic experience, truly.
Indeed, exactly. And because it's a Grade 1 listed building, we cannot just put heating in. But my husband and I, we are Tudor fans through and through. And we've always dreamt about living in a true Tudor house where you get to feel, to smell, to see Tudor life. And this house is just it. It's as close as you can get as a person today. What it must have felt like to live.
Because you moved there not that long ago and you've been really busy, haven't you? If anybody follows you on Instagram, and you must tell us your Instagram handle, but you're always posting the projects that you're doing, the kitchen garden and all the furniture, etc. So maybe you want to tell us about what you've been doing with the house since you moved in and when you moved in, actually.
Well, we moved in November 19 and thought at the time, we've got a few months ahead of us where we can ask plumbers to come in and other tradesmen to help us get the place perfect. Well, as we all know, plans have changed. So I was left to do a lot by myself. So my husband and I have been quietly working away behind the scenes and doing what we could do in a safe manner, and also what will be acceptable for a Grade 1 listed building. But one by one, all the bedrooms were slightly Tudorified with authentic furniture. I mean, the furniture I did bring from our last place. I have been collecting and restoring authentic furniture for a long, long time. And it was our last home that had to hold that vast collection, and it just didn't look right because it was a farmhouse. And so to the farmhouse, my furniture just looked out of place because we are talking about big four-poster beds.
Mm-hmm.
The beds, and they just didn't look right. But here they really shine.
Oh.
The furniture brings the whole house to life.
That's amazing. And I was saying to people, obviously, you've been kindly collaborating with Tudor Travel Guide for a while, writing amazing food blogs because food is your passion, and you've created this you're in the midst of creating an authentic Tudor garden and kitchen garden, and you look like you've been, because you've got a moat as well, haven't you? Which is just like you've got the full works. Tell us about the garden.
It's actually the moat that attracted us to the place, because we weren't actually looking to move at all. So we always say this house found us, because my husband was looking for a property suitable for a friend, and that this house popped up on his feed. And he started to look, and he said, "Oh my goodness, look at this place. It's come available. Oh, look, there's even a moat," because he knew that I love original medieval moats. Because I had this dream, this vision to even have my own fish. So on a Friday, Wednesday or Saturday, in true Tudor manner, let's go and get the fish and prepare it. And I looked at it very briefly and thinking, "Oh wow, what a dream!" But I thought, no, we're not moving. No. And he, behind my back, made an appointment to see the place. And I remember being so cross with him, and I said, "God, we are not wasting somebody else's time, are we?" And he just said to me, "You can either stay or come." Well, I came, and as soon as we arrived, even before we went inside, we both felt we've come home.
Yeah.
I mean, unreal. I had never, ever felt anything like that. And we knew on the way home, we knew that was it. We're going to give it our everything. And we rang the guy and said, "Listen, this is how much we can afford. We can't, we know you've got more people lined up. We can't afford a penny more. But we are, committed. This is what we do for business. We run the Tudor and 17th century experience. Mm-hmm. We will honour your property. We will not turn it into some 5-star, very modern, pastiche-looking Tudor palace. We will value what you have here." And he accepted our offer.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? What a fantastic story. That is the perfect property story. And somebody who valued your values and what you were going to do with the house. And I love that.
Yeah, I think that is what sold it to the previous owner, because he obviously loved this property. He and his family stayed here for 42 years. And they did a lot of research into the history of the place. And they did a lot of the most basic work. But obviously, if you live in a place for 42 years, some bits get a bit tired.
Yeah.
And it was important for me to put my own stamp.
Yeah, of course. Now, you mentioned, of course, and we've said it a couple of times, but you mentioned that you run the Tudor and 17th century experience. So tell us about that, because people can come and stay with you and they can immerse themselves in Tudor life. So can you share with us some experiences and stories and the things you get up to?
Yes, of course. The very basic idea behind it is that you just don't come as a tourist. You come and you stay as a personal friend of the Lord and the Lady, as you would have in 16th century England. So we are not your typical hotel or restaurant. You have to buy into the whole thing. So as soon as you step inside, you step back in time. You step back into Tudor England. We will await you in costume.
Oh, wonderful.
And we do encourage our visitors to also come either in costume or allow us to kit them out over the weekend or how long they stay. And from then onwards, everything will more or less, 21st century health and safety regulations in place, allow you to experience what it would have been like if you came to stay here in this particular manor house between 1500 and 1600. So the food is all homemade from authentic recipe books or sources, and entertainment later on is again all authentic, and even the garden, everything around you will be a mirror of history. So you can really get a good feel for what it was like. But it means that if you come in the winter, it might be a bit chilly during the day, so you have to wear a few layers underneath to stay warm. But yeah, we've been doing it for 2 winters now, and here we are.
Yeah, you've survived.
We do very much appreciate the open fires in the evening. It's one of the highlights. All day long, you keep looking at the watch, thinking, "Oh, yeah, it's fine." Soon we can light the fire. But it's, to us, it's heaven on earth. We love the Tudor period. We both are very interested in social history of the period. So to us, this is a dream come true. We can step back and share this experience with visitors. But obviously, it is our home, and therefore we are restricted on how many people we can allow in at any time. So you have to pre-book. You can't just turn up at the doorstep and say, "Hello, I've just come through, and have you got a room ready?" Because I might not.
Well, I just want to say, I just have to note, true to 16th century experience, the sound can be a little bit bobbly. So I'm just apologising to the listeners because occasionally your voice is a little bit muffled. But I think we're okay, and I think people can hear what you're saying. But there you are in the middle of the English countryside and in a Tudor property, so it's all authentic and in keeping, eh?
And it's the high ceiling that are the problem.
Okay.
Every room is really, really high. I think if I have to guess, depending on where you are, 5 to 10 meters above me. And hence behind me, the tapestry, it helps to avoid those muffling sounds.
Yeah. Lovely. But you're right, I think the amazing, we all read about Tudor history, but what you've created there is a chance for people to touch, to smell it, to feel it, and that truly does bring history to life in a way that you just don't get if you're just reading a book. So how amazing. And well, I for one can't wait to join you in this place, and in fact there is the perfect opportunity if you've been listening to this and you've been literally sort of salivating at the idea and you'd love to join with me and Brigitte for a weekend of immersing yourself in Tudor history, then we are collaborating on a Live Like a Tudor weekend, which is running over the 21st to 22nd of August, which I understand is your birthday weekend, Brigitte.
Yeah, it is. So I'm actually at the moment researching how birthdays were celebrated, so we can make that bit of the plan.
Oh, that would be wonderful. So so this is going to take place over a weekend. Folk will arrive on the Friday, and then there's going to be a whole series of activities that are going to be going on over that weekend. So let's talk a little bit about those. Maybe you want to share from your perspective from the old hall what people can expect, and then maybe I can add one or two other things into that as well.
Of course. Well, obviously, it's very much weather depending. It was then as it is now. But the plan is to have a few talks about Tudor food in general, banqueting food, which was so important. I shall give you a little bit of an insight on how you can spot Tudor furniture and what's important about Tudor furniture. The same we do in the garden. I will guide you around and point out particular Tudor plants when they were imported by the Tudors and why. Then obviously on Sunday we have to have our archery practice.
Of course.
We, as you know, we also have our very own chapel. So those who would like to do a true Sunday morning in Tudor style are very welcome to see it sometime in the chapel. And my plan is also to get some of my early dance friends in to teach us some Tudor dances.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, because music and dance has to really be part of it, doesn't it?
Of course it does. That's entertainment. The Tudors love their dancing. And from somebody who myself, I've done Tudor reenactment, I've done Tudor dancing. It is such a joy, and it totally transports you. So that's going, along with the archery, and I'm a little bit fond of archery, that's going to be a couple of the highlights of the weekend. But you're also going to cook authentic Tudor food for us, aren't you?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Taking into account various intolerances that people might have, and also vegetarian friends that we know will be attending. So it can all be taken into account, but obviously I need time, a little bit of time to look into it and make sure it's all authentic and acceptable. And there will also be authentic Tudor nibbles and drinks available in the rooms, and so people don't need to go hungry at all. In fact, they probably go home really, really stuffed, and hopefully all full of how lovely Tudor food really is, because you hear so many stories about how disgusting and awful Tudor food must have been. It's far, far from it. You really will be surprised just how lovely it is.
Yeah, well, you're one of your recipes for Tudor parsnip cakes is one of my favourite recipes now. It's absolutely delicious. So, and so also from my point of view, I'm also going to be doing a talk about dressing a Tudor lady. So, as I intimated, I do reenactment. I have several rather glorious Tudor gowns, and I do a talk called Under a Lady's Skirt. So we're going to recreate that for you, so you can get a chance to see how the costume of a high-class Tudor lady is put together, really. And you know, there will be chance, hopefully, for people to wear at least some element of a Tudor costume, even if it's just a hood or a hat. Obviously, we don't have, we've got a limited number of sizes of gowns and so on and so forth available. But as you were mentioning, Brigitte, you do have some costumes that folk can wear. So hopefully there'll be a chance for people to slip into something. Yes?
Yeah, exactly. And even if it's only a headgear piece, it just puts you a little bit more into the mood as well, doesn't it?
It does. And when you see your face surrounded, framed by a French hood, if you've not worn one before, it does really transport you. Even that does something. The only other thing I really want to talk about is on the Saturday, we are hoping to take a day trip out to Kentwell. Now, Kentwell in Suffolk has one of the longest standing, most highly regarded and largest Tudor reenactment festivals in the world. So we've timed this weekend so that we can align with their high summer festival. Now, of course, it's going to be COVID allowing, but it does look like Kentwell are running events this year, although there's COVID compliance obviously involved. So whether the house will be open or not, whether it's just going to be in the gardens, we're not quite sure yet, but we are absolutely hoping to make that a glorious day out. I went to Kentwell just 2 years ago for the first time, and there are literally hundreds of Tudor reenactors, and they reenact the entire spectrum of Tudor society. So from the bottom to the lord and lady of the manor, and you wander around the grounds meeting these Tudor characters, talking to them, and they talk back to you as if they were there in Tudor times. Oh my goodness, I had one of the best days out I have ever had. I rarely spend a whole day out somewhere, but there was so much to see and do, and I had such a great time. I loved it. I was absolutely buzzing.
It is, you have to experience it. But the problem there for me was that you, as the visitor, you can't take part. And that's where we come in. So you get to see the best of everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you get your Tudor juices flowing, then we come back to the old hall, we eat Tudor food, we're entertained with Tudor entertainment, we have a full day on the Sunday where we can again continue with our entertainment. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So what I'm just going to say to folks listening is, if this has got you salivating, you're thinking, oh my goodness, I want to get out there and I want to experience this for myself, then all you need to do is look in the description associated with this podcast, and I shall put a link to a page where you can find out more information, and indeed you can book your spot. There are a limited number of places because, of course, as you were saying earlier, Brigitte, there is a limited amount of space. So do make sure you don't miss out. Go and check out that page. And for a number of folk, first come, first serve, there are rooms available, Brigitte, at your place. But if not, then there is also local hotels that people can stay at.
We still have 3 rooms. The others are already booked from when we first were going to run it last year. So those bookings obviously are still in place. But we have 3 rooms still available. But there are also rooms available all over Norwich, which is just 10 minutes down the road. So you'll find something that suits your pocket and your taste.
Yes, and as you say, Brigitte, we were due to run this last year, but of course COVID totally got in the way. So like many events, we've rolled this forward into this year, and it's looking very promising. As I was saying at the top of this podcast, in fact, the government is saying by the end of July, the whole of the entire adult population will be vaccinated here in the UK. So I'm really, really optimistic that everything is going to go smoothly. So Brigitte, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of a flavour of your amazing house there, and I cannot wait to see you in August.
Well, I can't wait to welcome all of you here and to share my passion with you.
Well, thanks, Brigitte, and we'll see you soon.
See you. Bye.
Phew, that was amazing, wasn't it? So I'm so excited about that. I do hope that if you are able, you will be able to join us. It's going to be such a special weekend. If you're a Tudor history lover, there is nothing like tasting and feeling and sensing Tudor history to bring it alive, as I was saying in the chat there with Brigitte. So just a reminder that the information relating to that will be in the description below. So just follow the link and you will be able to get more info and indeed book your place. Well, my friends, that is all for today's Travel Essentials. Phew, we seem to have covered a massive amount of territory there. I do hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. And I will look forward, of course, to seeing you at the beginning of the next month when I will be back with the main show, the Tudor History and Travel Show for the month of May. But until then, my friends, wherever you are in the world, do stay well. And of course, look after yourself, and I'll see you on the road very shortly. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Now remember, if you've enjoyed the show, please do like, rate and subscribe to this podcast to spread the Tudor love. Until next time.